What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about Lucid. I want to go over some of the data points, what moved it today, and what shorts did. Before we get into any of that, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. So Lucid went up 3.02%, 1070 the high, 1015 the low, and somewhat okay volume, so 7.5 million shares being traded. So at least volume's kind of maintaining itself for the most part. When it came down to Lucid though, there was a lot of things that investors needed to digest. One is just macro. So today we did have some data that came out first thing, and that was initial jobless claims came in at 212 versus a forecast of 210. Not anything crazy, but it is slightly negative, and this is exactly what the market does want to justify a rate cut. So market was a little bit more optimistic. In addition to that, market was also digesting Nvidia's earnings. So they came out after hours yesterday, and for the most part it was a triple beat. Just of course, as per usual, market was kind of looking at the multiple, so this is why we did have Nvidia go down slightly throughout the day. In Lucid's case though, the market was still trying to digest everything that they said from their earnings, and there was a lot of things. Like I mentioned, there's a lot of good, a lot of bad, a lot of kind of gray, a lot of everything. So depending on whether you're bullish, bearish, there's a lot to kind of focus on. If you actually look at social media, there is a lot of individuals out there fairly bearish. So definitely interesting stuff. We didn't get any new analyst ratings on the side note, so the same ones that I did bring up yesterday. There still could be probably about 4 or 5 maybe and new ratings that do come out. Most likely they'll be probably posted over the weekend, in my opinion. One thing that did come out that could potentially help Lucid, and so leading into Lucid's earnings, I was always curious. I know Uber announced that big deal that they are going to be kind of looking at being a charging infrastructure and a charging network. That would be huge, right? So it was still kind of gray whether Lucid would be able to participate in that. Obviously, whether that be through their partnership or just their overall fleet. But Lucid did hint, I believe it was 2 or 3 times, that there is other things that they're working on with Uber. And so it is fair to assume that whatever Uber is kind of working on, Lucid is going to be able to benefit. So we have the most recent one in regards to charging, and then we do have this right here. So Uber to acquire parking app Spot Hero. So there's a lot of big things kind of in the works. We also do have SoundHound, that big partnership. So they just put out their earnings, and they were pretty much, they still are very focused on the auto. So there's probably going to be a lot of big updates coming from SoundHound. So they actually just put out their earnings roughly around 10 minutes ago. So there's going to be a lot of big updates to Lucid Assist, probably in the next quarter or several quarters. Again, kind of increasing the customer satisfaction. So Lucid itself is setting themselves up with a lot of kind of strategic partners to, in theory, you would assume, thrive in the next little bit. So again, I just wanted to kind of bring up the most recent acquisition that Uber did announce, and then just briefly touching on SoundHound's earnings, because I know this isn't a SoundHound video, but nonetheless, shorts did return 209,000 shares today, 33.6% of the free floats being shorted, works out to be 44.9 million shares overall being shorted. In case you are wondering why it did change briefly, we did get a new number yesterday. And so as of February the 12th, there was 44.08 million. So roughly a million extra than what we previously did thought. So that means between January the 29th to February the 12th, shorts were pretty much using the Darkpool to short more. Nothing really significant. Of course, 1 million's kind of chump change over a 2-week span, but still something just to kind of keep in mind. As far as today though, shorts were just consistently returning. So that, again, depending on how you see things, is relatively optimistic and bullish. And I look at a lot of different stocks throughout the trading day, and hands down, this is kind of the only stock that did have shorts really returning a lot of shares. Seems like shorts were really confident today and doubling down on a lot of stocks. So kind of interesting stuff. Looking at the options, 493,000 in calls, 327,000 in puts. 52% of all the options being done are bullish in nature. From a bull standpoint, you see a consensus for it to be even around that $11 range by the end of day tomorrow. Bears are anticipating for it to be sub 950. As far as data points, the only thing to kind of watch for is going to be PPI. So that could cause some volatility, but I think the worst is now behind us for this week at least, unless the market is still going to be reacting to, for instance, a lot of the tech and AI. And it's always gone through those kind of ups and downs where even though some companies such as Nvidia have a triple beat, still the multiple is kind of scrutinized by Wall Street and just kind of torn apart. So that might potentially roll over into tomorrow as well. So just something again to keep in mind. But with tomorrow being Friday, this is the open interest. So you have 1,000 at the 950, 3,000 at the 10, 2,000 at the 1050, 5,000 at the 11. So if Lucid is, for whatever reason, able to build up some good momentum, stay above 11, then in theory, you could see a nice little pop going into next week, as market makers will have to cover a lot of that. Aside from that, we did have around 5 transactions on the secondary market, 3 sells, 2 buys, so somewhat evenly divided. These are all the transactions that did occur on the Darkpool. So again, for those of you that kind of tune into my video daily, this is a little bit more than what we're used to. And the fact that shorts were returning, it is kind of fair to assume that a lot of that was linked to them. Plus, you do see a lot of hold numbers. So 10,000, 10,000, 10.5, 85,000. A lot of that is hedge funds buying. So even though their earnings was, in my opinion, somewhat mixed, clearly their upcoming investor day right around the corner, roughly 2 weeks, just over that from now. A lot of good reasons to be fairly bullish on that. Right now, with it closing at 10.59, it is right above this R3, and so pretty much after hours is kind of touching this. So that 10.55 is going to be that key pivot. If for whatever reason able to close above that tomorrow, then in theory you could be seeing that 11.30 hit next. If not, you could be kind of seeing some consolidation to that 10.26 and 10.08. And just on a side note, the reason why I primarily bring this up is for swing traders and day traders. So if you want to kind of dollar cost average or whatever, or even potentially, let's say, get out at a key pivot, that's why I kind of bring this up. So if you are again wanting to dollar cost average, 10.26, 10.09, and then 9.80. Aside from all of that fun stuff on the actual chart itself, obviously the last several trading days have been pretty good for Lucid, and the market really did like their earnings. And so I think again, a lot of that did stem from the 500 million in savings. That's exactly what the market loves to hear. One big thing though is going to be that 50-day moving average that's sitting at 1080, and if able to get above that, then this is where you could see a very nice push to at least that 100-day moving average, because historically that 50-day moving average is a very, very big deal for Lucid. It usually results in like a 30% swing. Not so much here. It still caused a nice push higher, but still, if able to get above that, then anticipate that green line, the 100-day moving average, to be hit. You see a lot more willing buyers now, and you kind of see a little bit more willing sellers around that 11 to about 11.30 range. But in theory, Lucid could run up to that level before it kind of faces that test, that resistance test. Stochastic RSI is at 67, so somewhat on the high end-ish. Not really officially considered overbought just yet. But if we do break above that 50-day moving average, I'd say roughly around that 11.20 to 11.50 range, that is where Lucid would be considered overbought. And that ultimately just means a first sign of weakness, whether that be specific to Lucid or the broader market. You could see some consolidation. So let me know your thoughts on Lucid. Are you buying? Are you selling? What's your general thoughts? One final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you're looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto. Put out daily day trades, numerous swing trades, worthwhile to pop over there and check that out. With all that, appreciate all of you watching.